Bonjour French 1. Today's video should be short and sweet. I'm basically just introducing a new irregular verb to you. Now keep in mind that irregular just means that it doesn't follow a pattern. So the very first verb that we learned, the verb avoir, the one that means to have, you remember that one, right? J'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, il et elle ont. That was an irregular verb because it doesn't follow any patterns. It's the only verb like it, you just have to memorize its forms. Soon after that, though, we learned about ER verbs, which is basically a regular verb because any verb that ends in the letters ER follows that pattern of, in order to change the ending or conjugate it and make it match its subject, you have to drop the ER and add that S, S, O-N-S. O-N-S, E-Z, 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 E-N-T, E-N-T. So that was regular because multiple verbs follow the same pattern. What I'm about to introduce to you today again is irregular. This is like that avoir one where you just have to memorize these forms for this particular verb. The verb etre means to be. Now, when I say that in English, a lot of times people don't realize that when you talk about all the forms of to be in English, this is a lot of different words. These are the words like is and am and are. And the reason why we're covering that in this section is because we're talking about describing people. So you want to be able to say, I am short, or he is tall, or we are nice, or all of those things. So this verb comes in handy when it comes to describing people. But it has a lot of different forms in English. So a lot of times when I just say that it means to be, even though a lot of times people conjugate this wrong in the English language, I be having fun, we be having fun, things like that. When it comes down to it in English, when you conjugate it correctly, it actually doesn't use the word be. It uses words, again, like am and is and are. So it's really a good idea that besides just writing down what's underlined, which are the actual forms of the verb, to also write down what it means in English. I don't usually encourage that because if you just know this is I and you and he and she and all that, you can figure it out. But because this is a highly irregular verb in English, this might help you out to write down the English meanings as well. So I'll run you through them real quick, and again, I'll pause afterwards so you can practice repeating after me and learn all these forms of the verb. For the I form, you say je suis. Je suis means I am. For you, it's tu es. Again, tu es means you are. For he is, il est. And for she is, elle est. And again, keep in mind that all of these have to be followed by a describing word or something else to complete the sentence. You can't just walk around and use these two words as a sentence. It wouldn't make any sense. It'd be the equivalent of in English just saying, he is, and then trailing off. All right, let's go over to the right side of this chart. For we are, nous sommes. For y'all are, vous êtes. And for they are, it's either ils sont or elles sont, based on whether it's they, a group of boys, they, a group of girls, or they, mixed company. So I wanted to give you a couple of examples of how you could use these in complete sentences. Gave you a couple of sentences here already in French, so you can think about what those would mean in English. For example, il est grand. You'll see from your chart there that il est means he is, and grand is tall. Notice, by the way, just to kind of recap that adjective agreement topic we've been talking about, grand is in its original masculine form, because we're describing a boy that's tall. The next sentence, nous sommes intelligents, means we are smart. Again, if you look back up the chart, you'll see that this is the we form of être, but then more importantly sometimes is to notice this adjective agreement. Because it's a group of people saying that we are smart, you have to add an S to make sure that you make smart plural. Now, don't be tricked. If it was a group of girls only saying that we are smart, you could have technically added an ES to this as well, and it would have made just as much sense and made it feminine and plural. But I'm going to assume that there's boys and girls in this group and just add an S to make it plural. All right, what if you want to take it the other direction? What if you know the English, but you want to go French? If you want to say you are mean, take a look at your chart. Of course, you is tu, but the tu form of être is a. And then don't forget the word mean is méchant. And the reason why this E here is in parentheses is because depending on whether you're telling a boy you are mean or a girl you are mean, the word mean is going to look a little different. So tu es méchant for a boy, or tu es méchante. And you actually hear the T pronounced for a girl. Same kind of thing happens here with I am lazy. Again, the word I is je. The form for, if you're talking about yourself being lazy, the way you say I am is je suis. But the way you spell lazy is going to depend on whether you yourself are a lazy boy or a lazy girl. For boys, you would say je suis paresseux. And for girls, you would say je suis paresseuse. Again, everything kind of overlaps, and you've got to not only think about your forms of etre, which is what this new verb is, but you also have to make sure you're making your adjectives agree. The last thing I need to tell you is I do have a song to help you memorize this, and there are tons of cheesy videos out there on YouTube, so don't you worry. When it comes to memorizing this verb, I'll have lots of techniques that I'll introduce to you in class. For now, just make sure you bring your notes so you'll have something to reference as we're learning it next class.